Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about why your manifestations keep falling short and why Neville would agree with what I'm about to say. This comes with uttermost importance when related to imagining our desires. Because oftentimes when a client comes to me, they've gone through the ringer with loads of coaches, loads of videos, loads of content, loads of understanding about manifesting, but the core fundamentals themselves about manifesting are generally still unknown. So with this in mind, if you are someone who has suffered from experiencing partial manifestations, not seeing any movement whatsoever, if you're someone who has seen your manifestation come to a point almost there, but not quite, if you are someone who has witnessed aspects of the thing that you've imagined, but not the thing itself, totally, this is the video for you. If you want to simply, easily, and effortlessly get to the point in life where you just simply have your end, you want your specific person, you want your money, you want your success, you want your health, you want your body type, you want your degree. This is the key. You follow this principle, which I will take you through the steps of the core fundamentals of Neville Goddard's teachings. This is the end all be all. This is the alpha and omega, so to speak. No pun intended, as you will see. I'm going to take you through a biblical verse, and I'm going to break it down in context of manifesting so that you will see the fundamental essence of manifesting is so simple that it can be stated in 4 symbols. And with that said, within those 4 symbols, you will find if you are doing it right, if you are doing it wrong, and if you are, what you simply need to do. So in other words, by the time you're done, you should know what you need to do to manifest your desires, how to imagine properly, and effectively your game plan for what comes next. So with that said, before we begin, hit the like button. It does something to the algorithm so that those who wouldn't normally be able to see this video will see it. Hit the subscribe button. If you like these broken down methodical Neville Goddard breakdowns or systematic observations of manifestation, the way that I teach manifesting is not generally as others do. I do not teach from a book. I do not teach from what I've heard. Over the past 14 years, I've logged and tracked all of my manifestation. Well, probably, let's say tens of thousands of manifestations. And I started from a particular spot. I started from the Bible, left there, went to The Secret, exhaustively studied The Secret, Abraham Hicks, moved on from there to Joseph Murphy, moved on from there to unnumbered individuals, unnumbered teachers, all along systematically testing and applying everything that they have said to an obsessive degree. I have a mathematics background, computer science background, and physics background, and so my mind is very analytical. And with that said, the way that I teach is through what I have observed. So what I bring to you is so I also have studied in depth the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible. I have a background in that as well. So you will find from me a very analytical and observant approach with references to a lot of ancient materials. So with that said, if you like that, make sure you download the worksheet. There is a download in the description so that you can get what this video is talking about in an implemented form. So if you like what we talk about today, there will always be a worksheet to download with it. And aside from that, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and let us jump into this idea and topic, why your manifestations are falling short and why Neville Goddard would agree. So 4 symbols, 4 words. First section of this is the phrase Yod He Vav He. It's more of a combination of tetragrammations or symbols or characters pieced together. So what does that phrase mean? You might have heard it before. You might have, in other words, the translation or the kind of translation would be Jehovah. You may have heard the word Jehovah. Perhaps you've heard Jehovah's Witness. Another way to say that phrase or word is God or Lord. So in the scripture, in the King James Version of the Bible, I reference specifically, that's what I studied, you will find that the majority of the times in the New Testament that the word, that the New Testament and a lot of the Old, when the word God is used, behind that in the Greek and Hebrew is the word Jehovah. And that word Jehovah is a transliteration from 4 symbols. Yod, He, Vav, He. Those are 4 symbols. Yod is a hand and a hammer. It looks like a hand and a hammer. He looks like a window. Vav is like a hook or a tooth. And it's a hook, and then the He again is a window. So the Yod is essentially, it's a Hebrew character or symbol, and it is the manifestation into time. So let me say this. I'll go into this for about 1 minute. The Hebrew language initially, as used in the Bible or in the Old Torah, was never intended to be spoken. It is a formula. And this is literal. This is not conspiracy theory. This can be proved by rabbis or people who study, or Jews who study this stuff. So each symbol has a numerical value. Not only that, it has a formula. And not only that, it has a meaning as well. So as I said, Yod was a hand and a hammer. It has a numerical value, but each symbol has a comparison or relation to the symbols that come before it. So there is a symbol, Aleph. I'm probably saying that wrong because I don't speak Hebrew, but that is the divine impulse where all possibilities exist. Now, that it's more of an idea itself, and it exists outside of time space. It's not something that's objective. However, Yod is the embodiment or the manifestation of Aleph. So it is the embodiment of the divine impulse, the manifestation of infinite potential into time space. That is the word Yod. The next symbol is He. It is a window. That is the universal sign for embodiment of a life force. So put those 2 symbols together, you have Aleph manifested into time space, which is the infinite potential of God, all things existing, the divine impulse into time space, that's Yod, into that window, right, which is the container of all living things. So now you have that into Yod, into He, those 2 side by side. The next symbol is Vav, which is a hook, and that is an attachment symbol. That attaches the prior to the latter, the former to the latter. And the last symbol, again, is He, which is the manifestation into time space of Yod. So altogether, you've got Yod, He, Vav, He. You've got God into time space, and then latched together is the manifestation of all of that projected into this reality. If you put them together and you take the metaphysical interpretation, it is the formula. Neville Goddard gives it in many of his books. The Power of Awareness is one of them. But one of my favorite books by him is The 5 Lessons, where he goes into a lot of the biblical, the Bible interpretation via manifestation. Now, the reason I bring this up is because that word, Jehovah, is those 4 symbols together, that transliteration of Yod, He, Vav, He, which is another word for saying God, which is another word for saying I am. So in Exodus 3:13, I believe it is, specifically, or 14, is when God says to Moses, my name is I am. So you tell the people of Israel, when you go to them, you tell them, I am has sent you to them. So, and you tell them that that is my name, and that has been my name throughout all generations, forever and ever. That has always been my name, that always will be my name. So in other words, and in many other places in the Bible, I won't reference them right now, but in other words, God is saying to Moses and to us Anyone who has ever been aware is God. So he's saying his name is I am. When you tell someone, take this as an aside. When you tell someone that your name, you say, my name is Joseph Alai, or I am Joseph Alai. You are saying, I am aware of being Joseph Alai. That's what's happening when you use those words. I am. And so what God is saying, anytime you say, anyone who ever has said those words, I am, is God. You are saying God's name. So in other words, everyone is God. And just to be clear, he says it's not only at that time. He says throughout all generations. Anyone who has ever lived, anyone who ever will live is God. And so in other words, you as God have that power, the embodiment of God. God just isn't a word, it's a formula. So within us is that formula, Yod, He, Vav, He. So now, why is that important? Because it is the universal formula for manifestation. It is how everything has been created, everything will be created. You have the divine impulse manifested into time-space that creates everything you're aware of within you. Neville interprets it interestingly and accurately, and he says, the way he describes it is awareness itself is that Yod. Being aware of something, or being aware is He. That's the manifestation of God into reality. That's awareness, being aware, your awareness of being. Then being aware of something, that's the hook, and manifestation, those three together manifest into the last He, which is that reality pushed out. So everyone as you pushed out is because you are, your awareness, your I am, is happening all day long. So within you is an activated reality. God is active within you. That is your very consciousness of being. He says so in Exodus, and it's tested every day by us. If you become acutely aware or solely aware of a thing, you can prove that you are God, because the last character, the last symbol in that tetragrammaton of Yod, He, Vav, He becomes activated, and you manifest your reality. So in other words, to prove that what this is saying is true, that what I am saying is true, all you have to do is complete the formula. Go back to pure awareness, meaning your I am, right? Just be aware. Don't be aware of what you're looking at. Go back, focus on your breathing, and what you're doing there is relieving yourself of the awareness of being in this room right now. Being aware, removing my awareness from my problems, just be aware. Then be aware of what you wish you would experience. You are with your specific person. You are successful. You have your millions. You are the body type that you want to be. You're as happy as you want to be. Imagine that until it saturates your mind, and that will complete reality, and you will push out into the window, which is the perception of reality, right? Awareness of being something, and that manifesting into time space. So be aware of being something other than what you were formerly, and you will manifest into reality that thing. It's a guaranteed done deal. You're testing this every single day, whether you like it or not. You're proving it to be true. And so why is it that our manifestations are falling short? Well, it's in the formula, and Neville would agree. You yourself are not being aware of the person you want to be. So what does that mean? That means you have not either defined the person you want to be, meaning you have not defined a clear picture of the embodiment of the person you wish to be, meaning who you want to be after the end. A scene which implies you've already experienced the thing you want to experience. You want to be rich? What would your life be like? Ask yourself, what would it be like if you were rich? Where would you be? What would you be saying? What would you be feeling? Who would you be with? What would you be spending? How big would your house be? How would you be feeling inside? What would you be thinking? Your awareness of being. Notice I'm not saying feeling only, because that's not the only thing you can be aware of. You can be aware of thought. You can be aware of sensations, all experience itself. That is what you are aware of being. So if you are not effectively saturating your mind until you're aware of nothing else except for the outcome you wish to be true, then you have not completed the formula, and that is why you are not experiencing your end result. So what does that mean? What are you doing wrong? Let me make this really clear. Are you focused so much on what comes after? Are you working on your shadow work? Are you doing your self-concept? But have you actually defined a definitive scene and imagined it to the point where you're not asking questions such as, did I do it right? Did I see him clearly enough? Was I specific enough? If you're still asking those questions, then you have not embodied that formula to completion, and you cannot fully expect that you will get the results. Does that mean you have to fully, always, every time commit 1,000,000,000% to doing this formula exactly? No. But if you are not, meaning you don't have to be so obsessive that you completely eradicate reality around you and replace it with the imaginative one temporarily. But this is the key. Make a scene clear enough where there's no question you're experiencing your end. You're married to your person. You have your business that's bringing you millions of dollars. You are jacked or fit or have the body that you want, and you've been living that way for months or years. Have it so it's not a surprise. Then practice. Practice what would you be thinking? Jot down different thoughts you would be thinking. What would you be feeling? Jot down different feelings. What would your schedule be like? Then construct that scene itself. Enter into that mindset. So close your eyes, relax, focus on your breathing, and then begin to bring up that scene you've just outlined. This will make sure you don't leave that consciousness that allows impression of the subconscious. Imagine until it's natural. You're no longer struggling to imagine. And by the end, when you open your eyes, right, so whether that took 10 minutes or 20 minutes to get into the state and imagine properly until you're no longer frustrated or worried or anxious or wondering if you've done it right, take the time to do it right. And if you've done it right, you can open your eyes and drop it. That is what Neville would agree why you are not getting your fulfilled desire. That's why you're imagining before the end, you're not imagining clearly enough, you're focused on things that don't matter, you're not thinking from the scene, you're not bringing there, here. You have to be aware of the reality of having your end. That's all that needs to be done. So anyway, I hope that was helpful, short and concise, to the point. I really hope you like that breakdown of the YHWH. If you have, please comment below and let me know. It's very important. I have a change of people working with me now. I'm doing this solo and depending solely on your responses for my future content. Also, please go and download the worksheet or workbook in the description that can help you further understand this and implement manifesting. I will always have them in my descriptions. And then also, be sure to do that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like these broken down methods on how to manifest anything that you want. And stay tuned for next time. Thank you so much.